Hello everyone, Inquisitor Vaughn here, and in today's video we are going to continue with our Necron deep dives by going into the lore for the Thokt Dynasty. The Thokt Dynasty has a dynastic territory to the west of Terra in the Segmentum Pacificus. It is the furthest Necron dynasty in this direction as far as we know. The heraldic color of the Thokt dynasty is azure blue, and its ankh represents the alignment of the Hyrakii deeps to the crown world and core worlds of the dynasty's territory. The Hyrakii deeps are an extremely radioactive portion of space within the Segmentum Pacificus. It is said to exist as a collective of shifting void rifts that permeate with an azure blue glow about itself. The void rifts have hidden the majority of the dynastic territory of the Thokt dynasty. However, just because the dynasty has been hidden doesn't mean that they have been safe or idle, as the arrangement of their dynastic territory and the rest of their lore implies. The heraldic color of the Thokt dynasty is blue, but unlike the Charnovoc dynasty, the Necrons of the Thokt dynasty don't color their necrodermis blue. Their heraldic color is blue because it is the color of the Hyrakii deeps. The radioactive effects of the void rifts that are above and around their dynastic territory are so pervasive that it colors the energy within the Necrons of the dynasty. The Thokt cryptechs have even fashioned rad receptors onto the weapons of the dynasty, which also changes their energy color into the azure blue of the deeps. It's not just the color of the rifts that they are imbued with, but the radioactive aura of it itself, which they weaponize on the battlefield. This makes the Thokt dynasty one of the most dangerous to combat because radiation literally just radiates off of them. So much of the dynasty is focused on the color of the stellar phenomena around them. So what makes it so special besides it being radioactive? So something I've noticed about the alternative energy colors of Necrons, and by alternative I mean the colors besides the standard green, is that they all match with the colors of the kinds of stars there are in the universe. The orange of the Mefrit and the Maynarch, the red of the Sekimtar, the yellow of the Nefret. These colors have to do with the age, size, and temperature of stars. In regards to the green that the Necrons have, there are no stars that resonate on the color spectrum with a green color, but being that we know that the energy within the Necrons is stellar radiation, I speculate that green is the color that stars turn when they are being fed off of by a Satan. The Necron tier sun was being fed off of by a Satan, and there had to be something that gave away that something wasn't right with their star, which made them acknowledge the Satan. So it's my theory that when their star was being eaten by a Satan, it turned green, and that's how they realized it. And that's why the basic standard color of the energy within the Necrons is green. But besides that, another color of star that exists in the universe is blue. Blue stars are young, massive, and extremely bright, unstable, and relatively short-lived in comparison to other stars because they burn out quicker due to their size. Blue stars, at least in the real world, usually don't have planets around them because it takes billions of years for planets to form, and blue stars usually don't last that long. Blue stars tend to have strong solar winds, which also prevent the formation of planets, and they are sometimes seen with a dusty ring around them, though it's not known if those rings represent the formation of planets or the destruction of them. Most blue stars are so large that they burn for a few million years and then they explode, leaving nothing behind. Others temporarily supernova before going back to normal states due to radiation fluctuations and radiation output. I doubt that Games Workshop put this much thought into it, but the lore for the Hyrakii deeps actually matches with real information about blue stars. The shifting void reefs matches the description of the dust rings that are sometimes found around blue stars. The radioactive area of space matches the large amount of radioactive energy that the Thokt dynasty would have to be imprinted by if they were near blue stars, which is all actually really cool. If we go by the description of the Hyrakii Deeps as a collection of blue stars, a real-world visual correspondence to this could be the Pleiades, which are also called the Hyades. The Hyades, if we look at the word, also could correspond to the Hyrakii in a very loose way, but maybe I'm just reaching there. In regards to the history of the Thokt dynasty, there is no history, which is surprising, but also makes sense because their dynasty being technically the furthest dynasty to the west and the most hidden within an extremely volatile area of space means that, if they have any history, it's not going to be known by many other people. It's clear that they survived all of the conflicts of Necron history and are in good standing currently, but beyond that, there are no details about the past of the Thokt dynasty, and unfortunately, there's no information for me to speculate on that I could, try to speculate and form a theory about their past with. The crown world of the Thokt dynasty is called Magoshta, which has been nicknamed the Cradle of War. It is surrounded by its core worlds, and each of its core worlds is revolved around by planetoids which only serve the dynasty as weaponized platforms. Which means that this is a heavily protected crown world. Though I'm sure more Necrons have them, the Thokt dynasty are the first dynasty I've read about which have weaponized planetoids around its worlds. The surface of the crown world is said to be covered by massive crystalline tomb continents, which is a very imaginative description of a tomb world. Crystalline tomb continents. That sounds pretty cool. In regards to their pharaoh, the pharaoh of the Thokt dynasty is Anrix, who, according to the lore, has only recently awoken from the Great Sleep due to his tomb being put into hyperdrive at the return of the Silent King. All that is known about Anrix is that he is loyal to the Silent King, and there are unfortunately no other characters of the dynasty that are talked about in the lore for the Thokt dynasty. In regards to enemies that the dynasty combats, the dynastic territory of the Thokt is assaulted by the orcs of the Goth clan, who frequently attack the dynasty's fringe worlds. And that has been my deep dive of the Thokt dynasty. And as you guys know, after going over a dynasty and doing a deep dive, I usually do like an overview of bullet points of information that I spoke about in the video. But the Thokt dynasty has so little information available on its dynasty, its history, its battles, that I don't even feel like it's worth trying to do a overview of the information. This was an extremely short video. So now I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the Thokt dynasty. My thoughts on the Thokt dynasty are that I am completely disappointed in the lack of lore that is available for the Thokt dynasty. There wasn't even enough for me to deep dive on specifically, like how I do my deep dives. Like I'll see a piece of information and then dive into that as well. There wasn't even enough information for me to do that. And it wasn't fun to do this deep dive because there just wasn't enough to deep dive on. How is it that the Thokt dynasty, which has been around since 5th edition, has so little lore? It seems like the color is what sells the Thokt dynasty, really. Necrons with blue color, which is cool, I guess. Blue is one of my favorite colors, but it needs a little bit more than that. Maybe moving on into future editions of Warhammer 40k, the Thokt will get more information, but for now, it was just a really light dynasty, light lore, barely even a deep dive. That was just unacceptable. Like, seriously. As you could tell, I'm actually really annoyed that there was just so little lore to, like, ruminate over, that it's just like, what was the point of that video? I want to hear, like, fan theories. I want to hear, like, what do you think the Thokt Dynasty lore is? If you can make up some Thokt Dynasty lore, put it in the comments below. If you want to, share it, please, because I'm upset. All right. Without anything to be said, because that was a freaking light video, Inquisitor Vaughn out. Remember, the Emperor protects and the future is successor.